Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And welcome to Sofa Reviews. Today we're watching Fantastic Four.
This time we'll find out if 4 people can do what one woman couldn't in the last film.
So of course we start with Reed Richards and Ben Grimm admiring a giant metal statue of Victor Von Doom.
An obvious allusion to his ultimate fate and alter ego.
Besides, Victor's not that bad. He's just a little larger than life.
If by larger than life you mean more evil than Hitler wearing a coat made of dead orphans.
Anyway, Reed is trying to get backing for an experiment which involves cosmic rays in space.
There's some nonsense about increasing understanding of the human genome because obviously you find it in space.
Victor isn't interested and throws another allusion to the future in.
Same old Reed, always stretching.
Because the movie's clever.
We find out that Reed wants to use Victor's space station, which he has because it's bigger than a yacht.
And then we're introduced to Susan Storm, played by Jessica Alba. Because when you're thinking of a scientist, she's the obvious choice.
You back this mission, and I'll sign over a fair percentage of any applications.
Number 75. And its applications and patents.
What about his firstborn?
Come on.
He'll never have kids.
They shake hands and set off on their vaguely defined mission.
And they decide to share a lift together so we can have some awkward interaction between Sue and Reed. Clearly, the genius is not smart enough to avoid his bitter ex-girlfriend.
We're then introduced to the final member of the team, Johnny Storm, and Ben doesn't like him.
Cannot take orders from the underwear model.
Oh, come on now,
That
Ben.
wingnut washed out of NASA for sneaking 2 Victoria's Secret wannabes into a flight simulator.
Youthful high spirits.
They crashed it into a wall.
That's some pretty violent sex.
We see the team getting ready to go into space, and Jessica Alba's purpose in this movie is finally revealed.
While also revealing that Victor likes men in tight bodysuits.
In space, both Johnny and Victor decide that they should antagonise the one guy that would probably be willing to break their legs.
Victor asks for some time alone with Sue in order to propose, while Ben goes for a spacewalk.
Unfortunately, it seems Reed's calculations were off. 7 hours becoming 9 minutes.
Reed's always right.
Well, it'll be fine as long as Victor doesn't.
Opening viewing station shield.
Surely there should be some sensors with alarms going off.
Now it's time to take the biggest step of all.
Victor.
If it helps, think of this as a promotion.
And who says businessmen can't be romantic?
So the giant orange glowing cosmic rays somehow sneak up on Ben, who isn't even connected with a cord.
The storm hits the station, blasting our heroes with crappy orange effects.
We join them back on Earth, where Johnny turns out to be such a dick that he's willing to taunt a man in bed after nearly dying.
Unfortunately, the doctors just couldn't do anything to fix your base.
Reed goes to visit Sue and even takes her some flowers.
Although Victor sent her several bouquets as well.
Oh, she's allergic to orchids. Put the sunflowers by her bed. They're her favorites.
I guess as Victor had only been with her for 2 years, he wouldn't know that. Clearly knowledge of flower preference is a sign of true love.
It also turns out in an accident where a space station doesn't blow up and people don't die, the investors are unwilling to support Victor.
You have a week.
We then see Johnny, who's about to break quarantine to go snowboarding.
I'm sure the nurse, being a professional, will stop him, especially as his temperature is just below the boiling point of water.
So of course, she goes snowboarding with him.
Although it's here that Johnny learns that he is in fact a flaming cock.
Meanwhile, Victor discovers he's magnetic as Ben gets Reed and Sue together for a meal.
Once Ben leaves, they start to argue, Sue turning invisible as her powers are discovered to be based on emotions.
Her powers conveniently make her rather clumsy, which allows Reed to discover his stretching ability.
They meet up with Johnny and try to work out what's going on, going to find Ben.
The cloud has fundamentally altered our DNA.
Cool!
But it turns out that Ben is going through the change, and by the time they get to him, he's escaped.
They then talk about him like he's some sort of wild animal.
Anybody got any ideas where the big guy's going?
He's going home.
Now that he's roaming free in the wild, he decides to call his wife.
The fingers you have used to dial are too fat.
He gets through to her and she goes out to see him. Let's see what she thinks of his new look.
Jabs!
But he's got a sense of humour.
The next day, he's on top of a bridge until a guy trying to kill himself turns up.
Of course, seeing a talking rock is enough to make anyone reconsider living.
It seems to work though, as now he's just afraid to die.
Ben jumps down to save him, instantly killing the truck driver.
He then causes a massive pile-up on the bridge.
So he's traded one dead guy for one dead guy with multiple injured. Good work!
We then yet again revisit Jessica Alba's purpose in this movie.
Shut up!
She turns invisible and the guys go round the side. Pointless nudity.
Having gone through, they find Ben and stuff starts blowing up.
Johnny saves a small child from fire with his inexplicably flame-proof clothes.
An explosion causes a fire truck to start destroying the bridge, and Sue discovers she has a new superpower.
Reed and Ben manage to save the fire truck and crew, only for the police to show up.
Going to arrest them for doing selfless heroics.
Of course, if you have enough people clapping you, then the police can't actually arrest you.
Ben's wife shows up, and while it's clear that he's a hero, that's still not enough for her.
He's just discovered his wife is a shallow bitch who probably never loved him. But look, he can't pick up his ring with his stupid fat fingers, the loser.
So they're hailed as heroes, Johnny being thrilled at this, but Doom's investors not being very pleased.
This is how you turn things around? These freaks on the front page?
Yeah, I guess the ability to turn people into superheroes couldn't possibly make you any money.
It's too late, Victor.
Do you know how much money I've invested in this company?
And it's at this point you realise that Victor is basically Norman Osborn in this movie.
They head to the Baxter building, already firmly set up as celebrities.
Of course, Ben is too heavy to use the lift, but this does give them a chance to talk about their powers.
How come Ben can't turn it on and off like we can?
That's what we're here to find out.
I mean, if it happened to him.
What? You mean like we won't be able to turn it off either? That would save time.
If you're always on fire, you wouldn't be able to have sex. Well, consensual.
After this, we get a snapshot of the hero's powers.
Victor also finds out that he's turning into living metal, but not in a cool way.
After discovering that their suits have been affected in the same way, Reed shows them a picture.
Even a small miscalculation could increase our symptoms exponentially, or perhaps even kill us.
Now, dying. That's bad, right?
Not in your case.
So while Reed works on a cure, we get another montage of them living together.
Finally, Victor discovers that he can manipulate electricity and goes to show one of the investors.
Johnny, being a reasonable and sensible kind of guy, sneaks out to go to a motorbike stunt show.
Luckily, the helmet doesn't melt onto his head, and so he's able to hog the spotlight.
You were on fire!
He comes up with names for the entire group, annoying Ben in the process.
Okay, now I'm gonna go kill him.
And now Ben Grimm with a quick lesson on the dangers of a personalised license plate.
After this, Johnny makes a good point, despite the fact that he's a flaming cock.
You know what, Reed? This is who we are. Accept it. Or better yet, enjoy it.
So Ben goes off to a bar and a blind woman buys him a drink. So as far as the film is concerned, they're a couple now.
Victor finds Ben in a diner and puts his plan into action.
You're his best friend. So what possible reason could he have for taking his time? I mean, other than spending more time with Sue.
Of course, it's perfectly timed to coincide with Reed and Sue having a break from working. Ben could ask about this, but it turns out violence is easier.
Reed tries to calm things down by fighting more, rather than talking, because he's the intelligent one.
Ben decides he's had enough of this and is abandoning the team.
Johnny shows up and is also yearning for freedom.
Do you even hear yourself? Who do you think you are?
Captain America?
Because of the argument, Reed tries the machine on himself, giving himself a stroke.
It turns out the machine needs more power. If only we knew someone who could harness electricity.
More power?
Doom powers the machine and turns Ben human.
As he's reached his 3-kill limit for the film, he decides to just knock Ben out. I'm sure that won't come back to haunt him.
Reed shows up and is then just simply thrown out of the building by Victor.
And because Victor's a bad guy, he decides to throw the doorman out as well.
He spots that his face is scarred, but he luckily has a mask at hand to wear.
Johnny inexplicably returns, along with Sue, who clearly didn't hear any of the earlier battle.
Sue!
Johnny, the machine worked!
Victor has set Reed up to a super cooling machine.
Give up?
He's still a person, that should kill him.
I guess he's literally made of rubber now?
Anyway, Doom then fires a heat-seeking missile in order to deal with Johnny.
You can tell just how worried Jessica Alba is.
Don't even think about it.
Never do.
What are you doing? Johnny, no!
In the nick of time, Johnny works out the magic words and now he can fly.
Sue goes off to rescue Reed and Ben realises he's useless now.
As Johnny eventually manages to evade the missile, Sue confronts Victor.
Of course, no one has the heart to tell Sue that she's pretty crap.
Luckily for her, someone else has worked out their catchphrase.
No, Vic. It's clobbering time.
After a bunch of flailing around, they end up in the street.
Welcome back.
Reed tells Johnny to go supernova and just hopes that Sue can contain this.
She is able to do this, and to include the others, Ben breaks a fire hydrant, Reed Richards diverts the water at Victor, which super cools him and seals him solid.
So Victor is still alive but frozen in place, still aware yet unable to move, watching yet unable to interact, being slowly driven insane. It's a happy ending!
We see them all on a boat, Ben with his new girlfriend, and Reed now proposing to Sue.
Sue, you kinda need to say something.
Oh, yes. Yes. That's my nose, genius.
Well, how's he ever going to find her G-spot?
And so the movie ends, and in conclusion, this wasn't all bad. There were some good points to say. I mean, it looked fairly decent. All the characters are accurately portrayed in their powers. The Thing actually looks quite decent as well. I mean, it's not brilliant, but at least it's not crappy CG. It's an actual prop and a costume. They took time on it, even if it isn't the best looking thing in the world. The special effects with the Human Torch are okay, they work rather well. He's actually entertaining when he's flying around and on fire, though I don't much like him throughout the rest of the movie. And Doom is actually quite entertaining himself. While his voice isn't particularly good, the acting's kind of hammy yet fun. He seems competent and threatening, even though the Fantastic Four aren't that much of a hero group to go against him.
2 down, 2 to go.
The film just ends up feeling quite rushed. You spend a whole bunch of time with them learning their powers, so after an hour and a half they suddenly find out they've got an enemy. 15 minutes later they've beaten him. You'd have probably just been better off focusing purely on the origins, or getting that done, or maybe even properly building up the confrontation at the end. Johnny is an annoying douche, yet he's the only one who seems to actually appreciate or enjoy the powers. I can understand Thing wouldn't, but I mean, turning invisible, that's cool. You know, why would you not enjoy that? And then there's lots of bizarre things. Johnny only goes back to them because the lights play up a bit, so he assumes something must be wrong. Ben turns himself back into the Thing, but he didn't have Doom there to power the machine, so it's never explained how that works. It doesn't make sense that the Thing's wife is such a shallow bitch, and then there's a kind of really weird message, which I think was from the comics as well, but Ben's so ugly that you could only love him if you're blind.
Painful? You don't know the meaning of the word.